Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser, and I'm joined by two of my favorite co-hosts who famously are unable to actually work with computer equipment, even though both of them work in the technology industry. Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB and Nathan Ernst at Nathan 11. I wish you all could have seen what I just got to witness. It was so fun. I almost went live just so you could see Nathan banging around his computer and his microphone like a 70-year-old man trying to figure out how to dial up the old internet.
It was worse than that because all I had to do was figure out how to screw the screw in, and all of my IKEA inadequacies were I was getting a little frustrated. This was like me trying to build a shelf or something and nothing works, and I just got a screw in a dang screw. Why doesn't it work? So yeah, it was great. But hey, we did it.
We did it. We made it. Evan, the last time I saw you, I think you were letting Nathan know that not only was Gray Zabel still available, but he was the selection of the Seattle Seahawks. How are you doing? Has your voice recovered from making sure Nathan could hear that message?
I'm so glad you actually mentioned that because my voice was gone. Like, that's actually why I was like kind of quiet on Friday night. I wasn't talking much because it hurt to talk like actively. And I was in meetings on the previous Friday, and I was like, yeah, guys, just like kind of getting a little sick, under the weather here. Definitely wasn't screaming at anybody over football related topics the night before. But yeah, no, that hurt something like deep in my soul. I don't know what it was. So I'm alive and recovering.
I really, really wish I could have switched places with you guys at like various times. So you could have been where I was sitting when the mayhem was happening on the other side of the screen, because the juxtaposition between our show and what was going on elsewhere in that room, it was so funny, man. It was so funny. And you two were a central part of what made it so much fun.
Were there any
go ahead.
Were there any because that was your first time,
it was absolutely my first time, yeah.
From the VMAC. Did you learn anything, or was there any interesting moments from inside that room that you can share? I'm kind of throwing you on the spot here, but anything fun that happened that night?
Well, I mean, there's a ton of fun stuff that happened, all throughout, but there's not like any secretive stuff where it's like, oh, there's this thing I can't tell you about.
Weren't you getting draft tips in the buffet line?
that is true. I ran into somebody whose name I cannot share, and they were in the draft room, and we were catching up a little bit, and so I got a couple tidbits from that, but I mean, I don't know, just Hugh Millen, talking to him and hearing him talk about the players and all that stuff. And then Rob Rang, and a guy that honestly, I've read Rob Rang's draft coverage for a really long time, and getting to download it with him and talk through it, and talking about, Softy booming over here. And then, Dave Pearson coming over. And then I think the craziest thing for sure was the players getting picked. I think we're all used to reacting to that. And then talking to that person a few minutes later, that was really, really cool. And I was happy I was able to ask some questions that I think got some pretty fun answers from the guys, and be part of their this is their the moment that they will always remember. It's like a core memory for them, and to just get to be a part of that, and hopefully a minor positive part of it, that was kind of cool. I got a lot of pleasure out of that.
No players got any fake calls that evening or anything on the Seahawks side?
I don't know. Look, hold on. I want to talk about this with you guys for a second, because your generation, I'm pointing at you, Evan, specifically.
Yeah.
You think that shit's funny. You're the guy that would post fake tweets saying that somebody's back or signed with the Seahawks, and it's like a 7-year-old tweet or something, and causing everyone to freak. And you and Josh think that's hilarious. It drives me nuts.
That is funny. I want to be clear.
It is not funny.
To be clear, I want to say I stand by that chaos on Twitter behavior, but this feels like a whole nother level.
Yes, there is a difference between Oh man, I forgot who it is that has me blocked on Twitter. It's some reporter. I think Crabtree has me blocked because I got on a fake report one time. There's a huge difference in tricking some doofus from KJR or whatever on Twitter and calling somebody who's waiting for the job offer of a lifetime.
Thank you.
And yeah,
I want to be clear. I am not apologizing for retweeting that the Seahawks signed Eddie Lacy onto my timeline from like a decade ago. Nobody even knows where Eddie Lacy is. I'm not apologizing for that. I'm going to keep doing that, actually. So get used to it.
My God, I on the record do not find that funny, and I've gotten so many emails and DMs from professionals who are like, "Can you? This guy is ruining your reputation by going out here. He's associated with you," and I'm like, he's not my employee, and he's a friend, and I think it's really stupid, but I'm not going to tell him what to do. And
these guys are ruining their own. Yeah, go for it.
To be fair, we've toned it down a little bit.
Yes, you have.
But also to be fair, if you're a reporter, if you want to call yourself a reporter, do like half a second of fact checking. Like, you're ruining your own reputation is what's happening. If you can't look at it and see that Baker Bread Man got you again, like, I'm sorry, your reputation is the one in question here.
When you guys you'll switch your avatars, you go the whole nine.
It's not as easy anymore.
You put on glasses, a little fake nose and mustache, and poor Curtis Crabtree doesn't stand a chance.
I'll say this. I'm glad to hear that you are both staunchly against trolling and trying to fool and prank call these young men who are waiting on pins and needles to figure out what's going on. I don't care what you like. There's people that aren't big Shedeur Sanders fans that are. It doesn't matter. That's not your place, man. And Jeff Ulbrich, his dad had to come on today and apologize. I mean, dude, Nathan, you are a father. if one of your kids did that and potentially put your job at risk and your reputation in the league, the only place you work, of which there's very few jobs to be had, what would that conversation be like?
There wouldn't be a conversation. It would be, yeah, probably shouldn't say it for the world to hear, but yeah, it'd be some real Homer Simpson, Bart Simpson type moment there.
I mean, this is part of this whole thing though, Brian. It's you're a professional now.
Oh yes.
You're a professional. No, but seriously, you're credentialed. You're getting pulled aside by people who make a lot of money and have very heavy reputations. And Nathan and I are just two dinguses talking on a podcast. There's a difference here. Yeah, well, I hate to tell you that two dinguses, went pretty viral. So I think you guys are doing just fine. And you know what? That's part of the difference with this show. And what we do is we're all friends, we're all fans, and they are granting me access for the time being. But, who knows how long that'll last, whether I screw it up or one of you screw it up. If I had to put my money on it, it's going to be Evan that screws it up. But, we're waiting on that time. Just tell Dave Pearson I will be religious on time about our 1-to-1s weekly on Fridays. I'll make sure I'm always there a couple minutes early. I'm a soldier.
Make sure that you rub pumpkin pie on your face in your first one-on-one with Dave Pearson. I think that would go over really well.
We'll do that.
Yeah, nice. Well, guys, we've got a few Patreon questions to get through because it's been a little while and there's a lot of stuff to go through. So Nathan, I don't know if you need my help to get on Discord and pull those, but we'll go through a bunch of those. But before I get to that, there's a couple things I wanted us to talk about. One, the numbers got announced. They just got announced a little while ago. And this is for the rookies. And normally, I got to say, this stuff doesn't matter to me that much. But for some reason with this draft class, I kind of care. And two things I got to say, and then I want to know your reactions. Which number stood out to you? Is there a jersey you've got to buy? First, very cool. Steve Hutchinson agreed to let Gray Zabel wear his number. The last the last guard that was drafted in the first round by the Seahawks passes the number along to the next guard that was drafted by the Seahawks in the first round. And then this one's a deep pull, and it will mean nothing to the two of you. But for any Blazers fans that are out there, my favorite Blazer growing up was Cliff Robinson. I love Cliff Robinson. I had posters of him, big fan. His number was 3. And so when I saw Nick Emanwari, who was my favorite pick in general, pulled the number 3, I was pretty excited. I mean, I don't know how that's going to look on him, but there's some numerology thing going on there that that might be the one I have to go for, because I don't think I can do my Geno Smith. I loved my Geno Smith jersey, but I got to get something new this year. So, Evan, for you, is there a jersey number that's jumping out to you at all?
I'm not a huge jersey number guy.
Well, you're not a jersey guy in general anymore, right?
I don't really care about this. Like
really?
Not at all. My whole take that I've kind of shared controversially is like, I don't want to buy a new jersey. Like, jerseys are not comfortable. I'd so much rather get like a long sleeve shirt or like a jacket. Like, I'm not a good person to ask about this. I'd be curious for Nathan.
I didn't know that. I think like a few years ago you did care about this. So this is relatively new. You used to have like jersey takes.
I mean, I was all about the financial efficiency of order. What was it? A Youth XL.
The Youth XL.
But I can't fit into that anymore.
No, you're too swole now. You're thick boy.
It's thick boy season, thick boy era. I can't fit into that anymore. So
Nathan, how about you? Any of these numbers that spoke to you one way or another?
No, this is really exciting podcasting here. I also have no opinion about numbers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
I guess the only thing that sticks out to me is 18 for Arroyo. That feels a little funky, but
yeah, 18 for a tight end, or is he?
I mean,
is he an X receiver?
I think he's a tight end, but
I mean, what year did they do away with like the categories for the numbers? It was like recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was relatively recently, the last 10 years for sure, I think.
My only take is I'm kind of annoyed by that. Like, it throws me off.
Yeah, I mean, so for people that don't know, Gray Zabel 76, Nick Emanwari 3, Elijah Arroyo's 18, Jalen Milrose number 6. That's gonna be a popular jersey. Riley Mills is 98. I think that bodes well for Riley Mills. I think 98 is gonna do well for him. Torrey Horton's 15. Nobody took 14, by the way. So DK's number is untaken. No one wanted to follow in his footsteps, right?
Did Horton wear 14 in college, or did he wear 15? He wore something in the teens, I think.
I think it was 15.
Okay.
I think, but I'm not positive. Robbie Oots, who, by the way, I have an interview tomorrow morning that I'll be sharing for people. Had a great conversation with Robbie Oots. I'll be airing that on Hawkblog Mornings. He's number 40. Bryce Cabledew's number 77. Damian Martinez, 22. That feels like a faster running back's number, but it's his number. Mason Richmond, 78, and Ricky White, 86. That is a tight end number to me a little bit, that 86, on a very slight Ricky White.
Daryl Jackson, was he 86 or 84?
That's a good question. I'm going to look that up real quick. And then we're going to get, while I'm doing this, I'll tell you guys the other question I had for you before we get into Patreon question.
82.
That's right.
Horton was 82. 14 in college.
He was 14. So he intentionally dodged the DK number.
Dodged the DK. Yeah, that might be smart. So
people are saying Sam Darnold's 14 as well.
Sam Darnold 14. Yeah. Did he? What was Uchenna? Was he the one that Uchenna gave his number to somebody? Was it Cooper Kupp? Right, he gave his number to Cooper Kupp for a donation to his foundation.
I think Nwosu's 7, right?
Well, he is now, but he gave Cooper Kupp his
I see.
Yeah. Anyway, enough on numbers, since you guys have nothing interesting to say on this topic. I think the question is, and nobody knows the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Gut feel a couple days after this draft has concluded. Did they do enough? Did they do enough to break out of the kind of mediocre middle that they've been in? Did they do enough? And Nathan, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Not in the immediate term. And maybe I think whether this really breaks them out maybe comes down to Jalen Milroe. I think Emin also has, with his testing and everything, a really sky high ceiling. So maybe he's also another guy that can be a huge factor in how they break out of this over the next 3 to 5 years or whatever. But you're talking about a guard, you're talking about a safety, you're talking about a tight end, and then you're talking about 5th and 6th and 7th round picks mostly. And so Milroe being the quarterback and being as talented as he is, I think he's actually, the lottery ticket here for whether this class really launches them out of limbo. Obviously, it can be a huge part of what gets them out of limbo, but it on its own, I think probably not.
Let's say this class mostly let's say Gray Zabel turns out to be like an all-pro level guard. Okay.
I like it. Keep going.
In a few years. Okay. Let's say, Milroe doesn't develop into the quarterback that, they think he could be if he ever figures out his passing mechanics. Let's say they get a starter out of Torrey Horton. He dropped because of some injury medical stuff, but that people believe he has a talent greater than where he was selected. So let's say Gray Zabel, is an all-pro. Maybe they get 1 to 2 other capable starters. You don't feel like that, addressing that guard, that key position of need, especially considering the roster construction, the state of this football team today, you don't think nailing just that one pick materially moves the needle? Because I think it does.
It moves the needle. I just don't know that it alone launches them out of the atmosphere of limbo, right? I don't think that's exit velocity.
Okay.
What about let's add to that. I like that line of questioning. Okay, so let's say Gray Zabel. I'm not even going to say all pro. Let's just say he's a Pro Bowl upper tier guard.
Sure.
And then Nicky Minwari is at least Pro Bowl level safety or interior secondary player, however they end up deploying him. Again, that doesn't mean that Jalen Milroe becomes something more. But if you just add Nicky Minwari to that defense, does that plus the Gray Zabel piece move them out of the middle?
I don't know. I mean, it certainly lays the foundation for it. I think if any draft that you get 2 Pro Bowl players out of is probably doing a lot to get you out of mediocrity. Those aren't maybe the most valuable positions to get the Pro Bowls out of, but especially with Emin and the creativity that he may, they may use him in, that if he does hit that level, then maybe that is something where you're really launching yourself into the next level.
So I kind of prepped for this conversation a little bit today and was looking at some other draft classes. I know it's not Seahawks specific, but did you guys see that the entire NFC West, we loaded up on offense, right? How many positions? It was with the exception of 1 or 2 players, we took all offensive players. The Cardinals took 7 of 8 defensive players. The Niners, top 4 picks, I'm pretty sure, were all D-line. The Rams, I think, were a little more balanced, but I'm curious to know if you guys had any sort of takes or opinions on that, because it went totally opposite directions. It could just be coincidence, but.
Nathan, what are your thoughts?
I don't know what it really means ultimately. There was I think, I don't remember who it was, but, asked John about you guys took a lot of offense. Was that you, Brian, that asked?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, that's certainly not what we went into the draft hoping to do. But I was curious, and I don't know if he would have answered it, but did they see the draft that way, though, going into it? Did they see this as being a stronger offensive class than defensive class? I don't know if he would have answered that, and obviously no one asked him, so who knows? But I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah. I had a bunch of. I think you're spot on, Evan, in like noticing some of the differences. It really is like John Schneider talks all the time about we grade for our team and our needs fit into our grades, are like baked into our grades. And if you look at the 49ers, the need that they didn't address that's glaring is offensive line. And they're getting, like they said they wanted it, but Pete Carroll literally took back-to-back tackles right before the 49ers picked and like completely snaked them, which is awesome. And so they had huge, like their defensive line was atrocious, and now it's not. Or at least I don't think it's going to be. The Cardinals, I still think a receiver actually would have helped them more than maybe they seem to think, but their defense was atrocious. And so they really needed to add there. So the Seahawks defense was a top 5 unit. Like once they got squared away last year, their offense is where they really needed to invest. So I don't think John Schneider, went in saying that that's what they're going to do, but I think that's part of how it happened. Part of what you're seeing me do right now, by the way. I'm going to go ahead, Evan. Go ahead.
Oh no, I wasn't going to say anything, but I found that interesting because like the Niners, like you said, they have so many needs across the board, but like defensive line is where they're choosing to double down. And, they've got Bosa as sort of like their, premium edge rusher still, but they took a couple of like big run defenders too, like some big boys in the middle. So
yeah, CJ West and Alfred Collins, like they absolutely did. And I think the 49ers did well for themselves. Not everybody does. There's some people that are pretty critical of what the 49ers did, but I'm not happy to say it, but I like their draft. Yeah, go ahead.
Was it a corner that the Cardinals took?
Will Johnson in the second round.
Okay, yeah. Interesting.
So, I mean, that's the other part of this. Do you think that when you guys looked at the other draft classes, was there any like, oh man, like the Seahawks are in trouble because X happened in the NFC West?
I don't know that there's one, but I do feel like the Niners and Cardinals had strong drafts for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I really like the Rams draft at all.
They kind of like traded out of it. Like they're like, we're going to have a first-round pick, 2 first-round picks next year and try to get one of these quarterbacks, it seems like.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to show you guys, I'm trying to find this picture because, all right.
While you're still looking for that, are you still looking for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just say one thing. There was like one conversation that's not particularly like football talent related that we were having a lot over this past year and this offseason, like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And Miss Dana, golden contributor to this podcast, who we all love, was talking about how this team doesn't have personality. Guys, we've got some personality.
Yes.
Guys,
that is such a great segue.
I'm being serious though. Like we've got some personality. Like we've got some boys coming out of the gate talking some. Who was the Seahawks draft pick that said like, was it Ema the Warrior? Was it the safety who was like, I'm not going to butcher his name. Was it the safety who was like, if we're going to play the 49ers, I'm going to lay a.
Yeah, it was Eamon Warrior.
Lay a hoe out or something. He said like,
yeah, I
love that. Dive into some Busch Lights, like belt to ASS, like let's go.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
I think that's such a great call. I'm so glad you brought that up because Gray Zabel, man, that guy has so much more personality than I realized. And then Eamon Warrior, I think his draft call, I think freaked some people out because it was a little bit subdued. But like, if you heard that interview, man, he was awesome. I can't wait to talk to him more. I think Elijah Arroyo has been pretty engaging with some of the stuff he's said. Jalen Milroe for sure. Robbie Oots, when you guys hear the interview with him, like there's a few sound bites in there. It's really, really good. And I thought like Bryce Cable, Mason Richmond, like almost all through the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not say that was a characteristic of the last few drafts. Like Spoon, exudes that. Reek has a little bit of that, but is a little bit jaded because of some of his interaction with the fans. But there's not even the guys they added this year, like Sam Darnold, not like the most
No.
standout like personality. Cooper Kupp's pretty good though. Like I was floored by Cooper Kupp. DeMarcus Lawrence. So it does feel like there's some life being injected into there. And I think that's pretty cool. There were some pictures from today. I want to share this with you guys. So this is at like they're practicing now. That's Jalen Sundell.
Let's go.
That's Jalen Sundell.
What does one of those tires weigh?
I don't know, but look at his chest. Like, look at how he is definitely thickened up. Like he's put on some serious muscle in a pretty short amount of time.
Am I insane to think that that's like maybe 600, 700, 800 pounds? Like,
no, it's not that heavy. I would think like 250.
No,
maybe.
It's got to be heavier, right?
I'll ask the guys. That's a good question.
Oh, all right. Large size tractor tires can weigh anywhere from 400 to 800 pounds.
Wow.
Thick boy season. Let's see it in some 5-inch inseams now.
Here is the previously believed to be imaginary Abe Lucas.
He's real.
Okay.
He's real. And man, he has been working his ass off. This is Satawa Lamea.
Did you take these photos?
No, these are Rod Marr Seahawks photos from today.
Oh, okay.
So like Satawa, like a lot of these guys worked out together as well.
Look at those.
But check out this guy.
Ooh,
Are you sure that Cooper Kupp is finished?
It is white boy season.
Are you sure? Come on now. That's going to come across very wrong.
What's under the
shirt? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but let's be really clear. We're not a white boy. Like we are all white, which is unfortunate for this show, but we are not going to be favoritising.
Just to offend a totally different crowd now on top of it. Is he wearing a sports bra?
Those are their trackers. Those are that's what they all wear, the little bibs to have the chips in them to track their movements. But I mean, Cooper Kupp looks crazy. And then this is the one I wanted to end with. I got two of Spoon. Spoon said he wanted to put on some more armor this offseason. And like he is still a slight guy, but kind of nice to see him taking some pride in, the strength part of his game. And I thought it was fun, man. I thought it was fun to see these guys. And the vibe feels to me like, granted, they're just pictures, but the vibe already feels different than it did last year, which I think is pretty cool. All right, Nathan, let's do some Patreon questions and twist on how we normally do this. If there's a question, any of these questions that you're interested in, answer it yourself too. So you don't have to just ask them of us. Any question that you'd like to chime in on, please make sure you do as well, because people hear plenty from me. I'd like to hear them hear from you too.
Gotcha. We'll start off. We'll continue the vibes, the hype. Nick S wants to know, did the Seahawks draft a Hall of Famer? You don't have to say who, just yes or no. Evan, did they draft a Hall of Famer?
Hall of Famers are a really high bar.
It's a pretty high bar, yeah.
No.
It's probably a safe bet. Brian?
I think you got to say no. I mean, I'm as high on this draft class as anybody, but Hall of Famers are very rare. So
very rare. Okay. Faz wants to know, is it too early to get a Jalen Milroe jersey? I don't believe it is. I think you could buy a Jalen Milroe jersey today if you wanted to, right?
Custom jersey. Probably make a custom. I don't think they're ready yet.
Yep. And then he says, you guys spoke on a past Real Hawk Talk just after the DK trade about how the team is losing its star power. With the additions of the likes of Cooper Kupp and drafting guys like Jalen Milroe, do you feel like the team has regained that star power? We just talked about swag and attitude and personality. Is there star power now on this team too, Evan?
I don't think you can confidently say yes yet, right?
You know what?
Star ceiling. The ceiling's high.
Yeah.
On all these guys, frankly.
You know what starts to make star power though? Like the straightest path to star power is when you're an athlete among athletes, like when you're an outlier among outliers. And part of what DK Metcalf had initially, like everyone just respected that this guy is a thoroughbred, man. And like he can do things that nobody else can do. I was thinking about this today that like, because I've got all the 49ers fans angry from my tweets from yesterday. And if I'm a 49ers fan, I guarantee you that when Jalen Milroe comes onto that field in a wildcat or like a read option kind of situation with Ken Walker as the guy for him to hand off to, and potentially Robbie Oots blocking, and it's going to feel different. And I think that there's going to be a different respect for the Seahawks athletically. When Nick Emmanwori lines up in the box at 220 pounds and can blow up a tight end or can cover George Kittle and jump, out the roof, it's going to feel different. So I feel like I think there's going to be some respect that will then turn into star power because they've got guys that can do things that most people can't do.
And the personality part is a big part of it. Like,
yeah, good point.
Just to be a star in the NFL where everyone is wearing a helmet and there's a ton of guys out there and like all that. If you have a personality to pair with your athleticism and what you're doing on the field, you're going to stick out more. And so whether their star power got that much greater or not, like they have personalities that could get them that attention. Brian, now that the draft is over, Amy is asking, Amy Holmes wants to know, now that the draft is over, what positions do you see as the weakest?
Well, hello to Amy, first of all. And nose tackle, like for me, is a real area of concern. I think you could make the case that nickel corner is also, like, after Spoon. Like I've been saying, I assume they're going to sign Shaquille Griffin, but Shaquille Griffin doesn't play nickel, and really Josh Jobe doesn't play nickel, and Reek Woolen doesn't play nickel, and Shamar Jean-Charles doesn't play. Like, they kind of only have one official nickel, and then Nick Emmanwori as a quote big nickel, but that's very different. Like, I don't know that you can play him against every receiver that plays slot in the NFL. So that feels thin. And like, this isn't necessarily even who's, like, you could say the offensive line from a talent, there's certain positions, but like, as far as like thin parts of the roster, those two, nose tackle, corner, and then maybe backup linebacker, I still have some questions about. If Ernest Jones or Tyrese Knight were to go down, I'm not real comfortable with the backups right now.
Wide receiver is sneaky thin. They have a lot of bodies. They have Cooper Kupp, but he's like 80. And then you're talking about
old.
And then you're talking about MVS.
He made Evan like practically say a racial slur on our show.
What?
I do, but I mean, like, he's obviously a risk to miss time, and if he is missing time, and now suddenly your third best receiver is Jake Bobo or Torrey Horton,
it really, I feel more positive about that group because of Torrey Horton and Ricky White, but I think if you were to narrow it down to like X receiver, like you got Marquez Valdez-Scantling
and Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah, like, so that specific role feels very thin, but like it feels like there's a lot of guys at the other spots. But I think, like you said, their bodies until we find out what they can actually do.
Yeah.
Is there anybody left on the free agent market, like, at all?
For receiver?
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if they signed a receiver. They did bring in an undrafted free agent who's 6'7" and ran like a 4.3 40.
Is Amari Cooper still on the street?
He is.
Wait, who's
There's some conversation about him going to Dallas, but I don't think that's happened yet.
Who was the 6'7" receiver guy again?
Tyrone Broden from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the UDFA?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. He I think he had like a 25% drop rate last year. So he might be able to be tall and get open, but whether he'd actually catch the football is a whole nother question.
All right. Sovereign Alex wants to know if everything goes right in 2025, Evan, who are the blue chip players on the Seahawks? Right. This is the
Everything goes
2026
right.
Seahawks. So I guess kind of projecting
Yeah.
good progress out of everything this year.
Yeah. I think it's Spoon. Oh man. This is kind of hard actually.
Byron Murphy has to be in that conversation, right?
But blue chip?
You don't think blue chip for Murphy?
Be a pretty big year 1, year 2. I mean, I know he's projected to produce at that level, but
He says on the 2026 Seahawks. So it's like a year out after this year.
I think the second name I put on that list is Charles Cross.
Interesting.
Another big step forward. Trying to think who else. That's probably the end of my list, guys. Like blue chip, like blue chip status in 2026. It's just a high bar. I don't know.
Anyone you're adding to that list, Brian?
The question is if everything goes well, who's
Yeah.
a blue chip? Not this season, but next season, the following season. Oh, I mean, to me, like JSN has to be in that list.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely think Byron Murphy's got to be in that list.
Big Cat too.
Sure. I mean, at some point he's going to slow down. I don't know if that's 2 seasons from now or not, but you know, he's on the wrong side of 30. Spoon already, I think he's got to be in that conversation. And honestly, like, I think it's not crazy that Gray Zabel, it's such a bad position in the NFL. I don't think it's crazy for him to be in that. And I'll throw you one other, which is the cheapest. There's like 6 fullbacks in the NFL, and the same 2 get to be all pros every year.
Oh, there's
no matter how bad they are.
Blue chip fullback, get out of here.
But if he's an all pro, that's kind of the definition. And if he's the best out there doing it, I think there's a chance they could end up with the all pro fullback on this team. I'm throwing that in there.
Hall of Famer. Is that who the Hall of Famer is going to be?
I mean, if they're gonna make that a separate position group, then yeah, that's probably the straightest path to get into the Hall of Fame.
Colin wants to know: has Nathan recovered yet? I don't have anything to recover from. So I don't know.
The burn I gave you.
Can I just say, Nathan was such a good sport about that. Like us harassing him about it.
So I went back and listened to it, and I forgot the voice that I did. Which I don't know where that came from. That was a little dickish, so
it's the way the 2 of you, it's like watching the 2 of you come together is hilarious.
I was drinking old fashions and I was ready to go that night.
I had no excuse. I was stone sober, so
yeah.
All right. Chris Bailey wants to know: are there any of these rookies you want to start this year to gain experience, even if they make mistakes and a vet may currently be better? I think obviously Zabel is like an easy one here. But I guess kind of everything else is on the table. Like, do you think that, Brian, that like Emin Rory just gets snaps just to get the snaps? Or do you think even he has to earn that over the other guys that they have on the team?
I don't see an open spot for him to just walk into and get. You could say the Rayshon Jenkins third safety role, but Mike McDonald was pretty clear at the owners meeting that was just because they had 3 safeties that they really liked, and that's not like a staple of his defense. So they said they're going to start him a nickel and some dime, and they'll cross-train him at safety, but they're going to kind of figure it out. So I think that translates to there is not a guaranteed clear-cut role for him right out of the chute. And I think that's the best. And I'll just keep reminding people and myself, Cam Chancellor barely played in his rookie season. And that was a shit roster. Like you could play anybody there. It was so bad in 2010. He was basically a goal line safety and a special teamer. It's not the end of the world if the guys have that year to develop and learn and then bust out, in their second season. I think one of the ones that's going to be interesting to me is what if something crazy happens, like Bryce Cabledew looks better than Satawa Lamea, Christian Haynes, Anthony Bradford. Like, are you going with 2 rookies? What if Jalen Sundell looks better than Olu Olutimi and he's only played a few snaps in the NFL? Like, how much inexperience are they willing to go with if they're showing out to be the better player? That's going to be the one I'm kind of curious about.
Nick S wants also has a question here. This one's actually interesting. I don't know what the answer is. Evan, what do you think K9 is worth on the trade market? He's asking if a third. I don't think you're getting a third for K9.
I do not think you're getting a third. That injury history. I mean, has he even played a full season in the NFL? I don't think he has, right? Mm-hmm. He's always missed like a couple of games. I think you're probably getting, realistically, like a 4th or a 5th.
5th,
even a 4th. Feel optimistic, right?
Yeah. And I made this point to Brian. I don't know if you were on the show, Nathan. I forget, but like, I'd rather take a year of K9 than a 5th round pick.
I don't know who were. We should look at the running backs drafted in the 5th round this year and see, like, are you sure you want 1 year K9 over 4 years of those guys?
Yeah, I think with the ball in his hands, he's the most home run explosive threat on this football team over JSN. And
Tootin went in the 4th round, and he ran like a 4.1 or 4.2, 4.3, whatever it was.
Sure.
Trevor Etienne, Woody Marks, Jarquez Hunter. Yeah, these names are amazing. Dylan Sampson, kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. Running back is definitely a spot where it's like 4 years of team control at a position that's not super valuable. Like, drafting a 4th round running back is different than drafting a 4th round quarterback.
Can I take us on a quick tangent?
Do it.
Like, related to this. So I cannot get this vision out of my mind of Jalen Milroe in the backfield running read option with K9. Like, I feel like that, like, I don't know that. Has there ever been that, like, when Lamar's in the backfield, has he ever had a back that fast, like that explosive?
Keep going. Keep describing it, Brian. Please. More detail. Please.
And Jaden Daniels certainly didn't last year. And so I'm trying to think, like, has there been 2 players with that kind of home run hitting ability? And then I'm starting to think, okay, if that becomes a dangerous group and they're planning for that to be a sub package, or they're going to play it like 10 snaps a game, at what point are they like, well, shit, like, this is working really well. And Jalen Milroe, like, he doesn't know what to do yet. And he's making all these other mistakes. We don't trust him in all these other situations. But can we take him off the field because he and K9 are so freaking dangerous? Like, are we going to get in one of those modes where it's like Sam Darnold's clearly the better quarterback, but this package is so tough to stop?
What are the chances Jalen Milroe is starting a playoff game for us this year? Well, I'm being dead serious. What are the chances?
Very, very low. Like,
what's your Sam Darnold gets hurt?
No, but I think it's higher than you think. Like, I think it's maybe 15% chance.
It would be very funny though if just in like goal line and 4th and 1 and less, the Seahawks have like just not the tush push, but the Milroe package, right? And then Sam's just constantly coming off the field for that stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering, and I don't know, man. I love the idea of having something on offense that's explosive and dangerous, and the Seahawks have not felt that way for a while.
All right, Brian, since you are the resident Seahawks insider here, Gar asks about I think Gar asked. Who asked? Somebody in here asked. An anonymous Patreon has asked about the biggest controversy, the biggest conspiracy that is currently going on with the Seahawks. This is a mystery that everyone wants to know the answer to. Why is there not a Jalen Milroe draft call?
Oh, this is easy. This is really easy. I can't believe people don't know this. It's because the Seahawks don't want it out there. Like that's the real answer. I mean, why they don't want to release it, we can guess. The only thing that I can guess, and this is purely a guess, but not based on any actual sourcing, is Jalen Milroe said in the post-draft conference call that Seahawks had him as the number one quarterback on their board. I asked John Schneider at the end of that day, Jalen Milroe said that you had him as the number one on your board. Is that true? And John gave, his answer. I was like, well, not. He was like, no, not really, but maybe the number one at the time. I talked to the folks on the Seahawks who were worried about how that was going to come out. And they were like, I think there was just a misunderstanding. He was the number one player at that spot, but not the number one overall. So maybe there was something in there where they just felt like this could come out and make somebody like look bad, or, that's my only guess.
Someone is suggesting that John Schneider may have told Milroe he could come in and compete for the job, like day one.
That's the thing. There's something in that conversation, because, by the way, this usually happens both sides. It'll have the team will release it, and then you'll see the family will release it. We haven't seen either version of that video. So there's something in there that they're like, nope, that is not to be shared. And I know people are dying to hear it, and I feel bad for Jalen Milroe that he can't have his moment kind of more publicized, but it's not something I'm particularly interested in digging further into. I'm just happy the guy's on the team, and we got him in the third round.
All right, that is all of the Patreon questions.
Awesome. I'm so excited we got through. So thanks for everyone who's been posting them in the Discord channel. If you want to ask us questions every time we do a show, patreon.com/hawkblogger. Sign up, get access to the Discord channel and the special channel where we have Patreon Real Hot Talk questions as well. If you are a suite level member on YouTube, you can also ask us questions in the Patreon channel. So appreciate all those. Thanks, Nathan, for doing that. We got a couple super chats. Hawk Scoots says, did Evan C. Greeny share his tweet about the draft on his show?
I don't know who Greeny is.
Mike Greenberg? Tell us more, Hawk Scoots. I don't know about this. Which tweet? What show? Tell us more. Put that in chat. That'd be fun. I don't think I've seen this. Brian Henderson, not Brady Henderson. Brian's like if Brady and I had a kid, it would be Brian Henderson potentially. Any thought on Tanner Volk, pickup from Central Washington University, underrated prospect from a D2 school that was a D2 player of the year and tested super well? So Tanner Volk is a safety, and he is a minicamp invite. He is not a signed player. So generally speaking, guys that are invites it's already a tall climb for a undrafted free agent to make the roster. For a invite that isn't yet an undrafted free agent, that's an even bigger ask. So, but look, we've seen Cooper Kupp, we've seen other guys come from small schools and tear it up. So we'll see. I think safety is a spot. There's a lot of guys there. Jarek Reed is there. I think that they still like. Ty Okada as well, and then they've got now Nikki Minwari. So it's a tough spot for a minicamp invite to make.
Who is the last minicamp invite to make the roster that you can remember?
Good question. Let me see if I've got it from I'd have to look at the names and then I'd know right away. Ooh, cool. I just did that. I'm like last year, Tua's brother was a quarterback. He definitely did not make it. I heard the quarterback play was awful. Let me go back to 2023, see if they've got it for that year. It'd be cool if they don't. No, not as easy to find. So I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I think Thor Griffith is the name to watch on the minicamp invite list. I like Thor Griffith. Six Riley says, are Sam Darnold and Jalen Milroe next Russ and Flynn? Curious what you guys think. I think there's one key difference between that situation and this situation that people have not brought up. But Nathan, what about you? What do you think? Is this a repeat of the T-Jack, Russell Wilson, Matt Flynn scenario?
I mean, it kind of works. I mean, with Locke as T-Jack, and I mean, Darnold is obviously way more accomplished, way higher pedigree. People make a big deal about the contract that they gave Flynn, but they gave him a backup contract. They did not really pay him that much money in terms of NFL money, and that is not at all the case with Darnold. So, no, I would be surprised if it plays out exactly that way. Now, are they maybe hoping that, they can get out of this Darnold contract in a couple of years and just slide right into the Milroe era? I'm sure, that would be slick, but no, I don't think we're repeating that.
I think that's all right. And the other thing that I think is a massive difference is everyone keeps talking about the players. That's a very different coach. Pete Carroll was like all about like, we're going to have split up the reps and we're going to do it the coolest way possible. And no one's going to believe how we're going to do this. And then I was actually like, I was not a credentialed reporter, but I was very close with that team and that locker room at that point. And when like that, all the guys in the locker room, the offensive linemen, Max Unger, like the defenders, like they were all completely bought into Flynn. The only person who was like, Russell should start was Pete Carroll. And so the idea that Mike McDonald would, one, open up this competition, which he's not gonna, two, then be like, you know what, I'm going to take the riskier move. I don't think that's Mike McDonald either. And then three, see his whole locker room buy into one guy and then pick the rookie anyway. Like, I think Pete had a lot working for him in that, like, he had total control. He'd been doing this for 70,000 years. Like, he didn't need to prove anything to anybody. I just can't see Mike McDonald making that series of decisions that's going to then, allow a rookie quarterback to come in here and start in his second year. I just don't see it.
So you're saying Mike's a coward?
I'm not saying Mike's a coward. I'm saying he and Pete Carroll are very different people.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Good question though. Kevin Camacho says, thoughts on Eamon Warry wearing number 3? Well, I think I said this earlier. I love the number 3 in general. It's one of my favorite numbers. So the fact that it's going on one of my favorite draft picks is pretty exciting. Nathan and Evan are also very excited about all the numbers. You should rewind, make sure you hear all of their in-depth thoughts. I was blown away by some of the theories they've got on what numbers matter and what's going to be a good player. So make sure you rewind, watch it a million times over. You will not be sorry you did. All right, guys. So rookie minicamp starts tomorrow. Gray Zabel does his press conference tomorrow. You're asking Gray Zabel one question. What do you want to know?
Oh, easy. Favorite burger chain. What is it? I actually want you to ask him that, though.
I know you do.
It doesn't have to be tomorrow, but I need you to pull him aside.
I just people need to know this is Seahawks PR's worst nightmare is that I will start taking question advice or pressure by Evan Hill about what to ask players. But I was curious what I'm not surprised by your question.
It's a good question though.
Nathan, what would you
compliment yourself on your question?
No, he's
you know what I would actually be curious is like what player he looks up to or wants to model his career after, almost as like a archetype. You saw Eamon Warry mentioning Cam Chancellor a little bit, I think, in some of those interviews. I'd be curious to know what Gray Zabel, who he looks up to.
It's a good one.
It's a really young line. Everyone's on their rookie contract, right? I mean, Cross will be on his 5th year or whatever, but still. And obviously Lamea, Bradford, Haynes, just in their first couple of years, Sandell, Olu. What kind of leadership role does he expect to fill or provide, or like how is he thinking about that aspect of it? Because obviously Cross and Abe are going to be leaders there, both by position and seniority, but like overall it's a young group. And so how does, like, I'm sure this is like, Booker would have had a really, and it's not bad if he doesn't have a good answer. Like, he doesn't have to be a leader on the line, but how is he thinking about that? How is he thinking about his leadership responsibilities on this young line?
Yeah, we got a comment from Matt McManus, a friend of the show, that says the Zabel family definitely grinds their own beef. Yeah, probably. Last question I got for you guys. This is just a vibe one, and it's not about. I'm not going to ask who your favorite current player is on the team, but which player, all 53, it doesn't have to be a rookie. I'm just talking about the entire roster. Which player on this roster are you most excited about?
This is a surprisingly hard question.
Yeah, right?
Most excited about.
We were just talking about whether this team has star power, and now we're like, well, I don't even know who I'm excited about.
Well, see, for me, there's so many answers. Like, it's not a lack of answers. It's like, which is the one I'm most excited about?
Yeah, finding one that stands out. I mean, like,
I'll answer the question this way. And I was a Jalen Milroe hater entering this draft. Anytime he steps on the field or takes a snap, I'm going to be very excited. I really am. Like, it's gonna be very fun.
It's gonna be an adventure. Like, he could very easily like fumble his first read option mesh point, and then it's like, oh no.
It's funny. I don't know if I'm more dreading the idea that fans aren't patient with him and knowing that he's going to make mistakes and not be Russell Wilson probably in his rookie year, or that I'm worried that he's going to flash enough that we're going to get this Russell redux where people are bigger fans of him than they are the rest of the team, and we have this divide among the fan base. Like,
it is much more likely to be the first one, because they're going to put him out there in the fourth quarter of preseason games, and they're going to say, don't leave the pocket. They're not going to run anything interesting for him in the preseason. It's like, all right, you're a under center drop back passer, and that might not look awesome in year one as a rookie. And yeah, it could get ugly. Let's hope not.
Not worse than Sam Howell last year. Jesus.
No.
People love that dude, though. Like, people were all about that.
Actually, you're kind of right that there was like a huge portion of our fan base that was like, give him time, guys. He's got to develop. While
they weren't Sam Howell fans. They were Geno haters.
Yeah.
That's different.
Fair.
You haven't answered yet, Nathan, so I want to hear your answer.
I think it's still Spoon. Well, I don't know about still. Last year, I mean, my answer would have been everybody knows he's got legs.
For people listening and not watching, Josh Cashman, a good friend of the show, says people talk about Jalen Milroe like he has no arms or limbs.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
My go-to answer for this was always DK. Like, DK was always the dude that
I
was excited to see.
Right.
I think it's definitely Spoon now, half because he's very fun when he's on, and half because I want to know if he can really make that leap that we thought he was going to make last year. And which is not to say he was bad last year. I'm not being negative, you guys. Calm down. But I don't think he made the leap as like a blue chip player, an upper echelon player, one of the best defensive players, defensive backs in the game. But I think he still has that in him, that potential. And so I want to know if he can do it this year.
Yeah, I really don't know how to answer the question. I think Milroe might be where I might ultimately end up. But I mean, I'm so curious about what Gray Zabel is going to look like in year one. I have this feeling that he could just be really good and look very different than the Seahawks lineman that we've had, and how important that could be. I have this feeling like I really want to see Byron Murphy in year two. Like, Byron Murphy, whether it was high school or college, he always made these jumps like in progressive years as he got accustomed to the level of competition and was used better. you know, I mean, there's just a lot of guys. Obviously, Nicky Manwari is a guy I'm super interested in, but there's a lot of guys. I'm interested in seeing Abe Lucas, back from, an off season where he's been working out so much. He started his own fitness brand, and like podcast on like exercise and weightlifting. You can check him out on Instagram. He's been pimping it lately. So I don't know, man. I think I'm just happy it's an intriguing team. Like, Evan made such a great point. Like, personality wise, it's not boring, but also like what they're gonna change the quarterback, get rid of their best, like their most, well-known receiver, at least have 11 draft picks, like bring in a local favorite in Cooper Kupp. Like, there's so many things. Bring in a whole new offensive coordinator who has ties to the same system that has terrorized you down in San Francisco. Like, there's a lot of interest for me and intrigue in what this season's gonna be like. And you know what? I'll take it. If it's not gonna be a Super Bowl favorite, that is the next best thing, is to have a young, interesting team.
All that, and we haven't named maybe the two best players in the team, which is kind of interesting. Like, to not be super excited, to not have Leonard Williams or JSN come up in the list of guys we're most excited about. Those are the guys that are just like, yeah, they're going to show up and they're going to be really good every week. And it's like, which makes them a little less interesting, where it's just like, yeah, they're going to just show up and kick ass every week. Like, but Milroe, God knows what you're going to get.
I mean, even on I'm probably more interested or intrigued by like Boye Mafe and Derek Hall. Like, are they going to keep progressing and take steps? Like, that's a really important part of where this team's going to end up. That might be more important than how Nicky Manwari plays this year, right? So, yeah, I'm kind of curious about all that. Well, I want to say thank you to Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB and Nathan Ernst at Nathan E11 for coming on. Thanks to everybody else who has been on with us tonight. Oops, got a couple super chats. One super chat I think I missed. Richie Brash, who is the most excited about Jalen Milroe. He's been wanting Jalen. He wanted Jalen Milroe in the first round, for what it's worth, which I would not have been excited about. He says, 1-year member, 6-year listener. Appreciate the work you do, Brian. Also, I was kidding about Jalen Milroe the whole time. Oh, well, should be fun. If you were, that was pretty funny. You really got me, because you seemed very committed to your Jalen Milroe bit. All right, folks. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow morning, Hawk Blogger Mornings. Make sure you tune in early, 7 a.m. I will be playing the Robbie Oots interview. You will want to hear this interview. It was really fun. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.